So the flooding has affected over 27 of our 36 states across the country.
Wow.
And this has been a result of excessive rain due to rising temperatures and the opening of a dam in a neighboring country, Cameroon. And that has caused the flooding along the banks of the Niger and Benue rivers that crisscross the country. And it's affected multiple states with people's homes, with people's farmlands. Over 100,000 hectares of farmlands have been submerged under the floods. People have had to flee their homes. There have been a lot of people who've been killed as a result, and it's actually been quite devastating. And as a result of this, we've had some roads blocked off, so the distribution of goods, food items, and other commodities, oil, petrols, has been disrupted because of the roads that have been blocked off as a result.
How are you and your team seeing the many people that TechnoServe works with in Nigeria affected by all this flooding?
So we've had farmers that have been affected whose farmlands have been flooded. We've had some of the herders that we work with migrated from locations where we were working with them to other locations as a result of the flood, and we lost contact with a number of them. We've had some of our entrepreneurs that we work with on our entrepreneurship program having their businesses affected because they couldn't cross over to other states or other locations where they would normally source their products from. We work in Jigawa State, we work in Adamawa State, and these have been affected by the floods. We work in Delta State, and that has been affected by the floods. And what my staff have said is that for some of those communities, because access roads have been cut off, when they go out to the field, they are unable to access some of these locations because the road leading to that place has been cut off. And we've even experienced it from when there were fuel shortages in Abuja, where I live. And those fuel shortages caused long queues, and they were a result of tankers not being able to cross over from the locations where they were to deliver the fuel down to the cities where they were supposed to sell the fuel, because the access routes were cut off as a result of the flood. And that has affected not just the fuel, but even food, the transportation of food from some of those locations to the markets down south or in other cities. They've not been able to transport food because access routes were cut off. And this then results in a hike in prices in those other states where the food is supposed to be sold. So it's had a lot of adverse effects across different areas.
What is the TechnoServe team doing in Nigeria to work with these farmers and business owners to help them with this crisis?
So what we've tried to do, we've tried to work with them both from a preventive approach as well as in response to the floods. What we've tried to do is just be on the ground for them to support. In some areas, it's been impossible for us to cross because especially where you find that the whole community is submerged in water, or you find that the access roads to those locations are actually cut off because of the flooding, so we're unable to reach those locations. Sometimes we're even unable to communicate with them because the communication systems are also affected. But where we're able to reach them and communicate with them, we make sure that we're on the ground to provide them with the support that they need in situations where they've had flooding. So from a preventive perspective, we've tried to provide them with business advisory. For our farmers, we provide weather advisory, and that weather advisory is supposed to provide them with information about the weather patterns and help them make decisions about when to plant, when not to plant, when to apply fertilizer, when to harvest. So you find that some of the farmers who have actually followed the weather advisory began harvesting much earlier. We've tried to encourage farmers to take on insurance as part of a preventive measure as well. So we encourage them to insure their investments, insure their inputs, and insure their produce. And where they do this, we found that they've been able to recoup some of that investment where they have flooding events that almost wipe out all their investments actually. We also work with aggregators to encourage aggregators to also invest and support the farmers. On one of our projects, we had a scenario where we had an aggregator invest for his business and 400 other farmers in weather advisory, and that helped them understand when to plant and when to harvest, and many of them started harvesting early. So that's on the preventive side.
Mm-hmm.
On the response side, we're also working to raise more funding to support, and to respond in situations like this, because the flooding has occurred across over 27 states. We don't work in all the 27 states. We only work in 10. And so we're able to support the communities where we work immediately, but we would like to do more, and we would like to scale our work, the work that we currently do, beyond the states that we currently work, both preventive, ahead of flooding occurring, and in response to the floods that we have seen happen. So, for example, some of the worst floods happened in an area called Lokoja. And you can actually see houses, whole communities with their homes and their farmlands submerged completely underwater. We would like to respond in such situations. We would like to go in there and support, to help. And so we're also working to raise the funding that we need to be able to respond and support communities in those